All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, where we will be getting some announcements very soon about who Jaron Boots Ennis will be fighting next. Also, at the same time, we've got some information about Devin Haney's next opponent, and it may be a tricky situation that ends up with one of the best fights that can be made in boxing. And when I say best fights that can be made, accent on the can be made in boxing. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division. We're going to give you some information that is coming out, and I'm also going to do a little bit of the prognostication that I like to do from time to time, which is to tell you where I think this stuff is going to head and what a wonderful opportunity that boxing fans may have slightly down the road for a very, very, very terrific fight. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so, so much. Thank you, Matty O. Thank you, Barbara D. And if you listen to this video, thank you so much, Coach Ari, for your support. I have not forgotten about those multiple t-shirts that I'm going to be sending you to your address that you emailed me. So thank you so much for your support. It really made a huge difference last year. But let's get into this. And R.I.P. John Bowie. Once again, R.I.P. to John Bowie. Excuse me. But let's get into this, okay? So word is that the PBC is going to be announcing their schedule for their Amazon Prime deal that is coming out, or that had been announced in December of last year. The deal is to include between 12 and 14 pay-per-view shows and other programming. Do not know what the other programming is, whether those are fights that will not be pay-per-view, or whether those are just, different type of productions and different type of shows. But seeing as these fights are probably not going to take place until March, that is 10 months. You're looking at over one big show a month for the rest of the year. So that seems to be a very big deal. Jaron Boots Ennis is one of the most coveted fighters in all of boxing. For this reason, and by what I mean by that is that people have been wondering where Jaron Ennis is going to go. I think that it is pretty apparent that where he's going to go, and that is going to be to fight on the PBC, because he has not signed with any of the other major promotional companies or networks. And if he had, you better believe they'd be announcing it. So he's over there, and people have told me that it looks like he's going to have, and his camp has also said this, a very good year in the year 2024. He has already been given the IBF championship, and I do say given the IBF championship that was stripped from Terrence Crawford. So he's become a world champion. Terrence Crawford looks like he is on his way up to 154 pounds, and not really willing to fight any of the contenders that are at 147 pounds. So Jaron Ennis pretty much has a clean slate over there to become, at the very least, a 3-division champion, and to become a 3-division champion very quickly, because Terrence Crawford drops that belt. That makes Amanda Stanionis the sole WBA champion, not an elevated champion like people would like to tell you when they're trying to make somebody look like they're an email champion. He will just be the only champion. So therefore, if you're going to unify championships, he's the WBA world champion. That fight with Amanda Stanionis is right there for Jaron Ennis, as is the interim champion who would be elevated with the WBC. Those are two fights right there. Mario Barrios, Amanda Stanionis, that can be easily made for Jaron Ennis. And with the money that they have on that network and their desire to get another deal with Amazon, I am quite sure those guys will put those fights together and have the money to put the fight together. And Jaron Ennis is going to come out of those fights, come out of that with 3 championship belts. And you're going to wind up having Jaron be in the same position that Errol Spence was, which leaves the question of a certain Devin Haney. Devin Haney is one of the best fighters in all of boxing, without a doubt. A top pound for pound fighter, a former undisputed champion at 140 pounds, a current champion at 140. He was undisputed at 135. He's a current champion at 140. That's got a problem. His problem is he's not going to last in that weight class long because he's too big for the weight class already, as we know by him weighing in the next day in a weigh-in at 165 pounds. He is not going to be long for that division. He himself has announced that he's not going to be long for that division and has expressed interest in fighting, at least that's what's out on the street, Mario Barrios for the WBC title. Here's the problem with that. He's not over there with the PBC. And Mario Barrios is an Al Heyman fighter, and they're going to want that fight to be over there on Amazon Prime. And the much more likely candidate for that is, again, Jaron Ennis. So the path for Devin Haney, and this is whether you like him or you don't like him, is very clear. It's going to be the WBO, an attempt to get the WBO championship belt at 147. Because he's not a big enough draw in and of himself for him to say, okay, I can do whatever I want. I don't need a belt, because he's not in Gervonta Davis's position. He's not in Canelo's position to do that. He's also really not in a good angle to get the WBO belt, which is held by Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez, you know what they call the WBO, whatever Bob orders, is in much better position to get that shot for the WBO belt there. So the options for Devin Haney, and I suspect it's going to be within the year, is going to be to go up to 147, and he's going to have to look for a fight with Jaron Ennis, because that fight can probably get made between the two of them, because it is something that is very, very sellable. It is a story of a former undisputed champion moving into his third weight division to fight a 3-belt unified champion at the time. Telling you this is prognostication, but I believe that this is what's going to be set up. 3-belt champion at 147 pounds, and you get one of the best fights in boxing. Devin Haney is fully capable of defending himself against Jaron Ennis. He will not be the favorite for sure in that particular fight, but where else are you going to go? There's not a lot of other avenues if he does not stay at 147 pounds. Now, an interesting thing also happened with with Devin Haney's mandatory Sandor Martin, who just signed with Top Rank. So Devin Haney is more than likely going to go to a purse bid with Sandor Martin. And that fight may very well wind up over there on Top Rank, with Devin making less money than he wants to. Maybe they will have the fight, just come to an agreement and have the fight on DAZN. But DAZN had a history of not really paying a lot for Devin Haney's previous fights. And we do not think that the previous not being willing to is, and the one I'm talking about is George Kambosos. But anyway it goes, man, it's going to be very, very interesting, because I really do think that those two guys, Devin Haney, who very well may be the best 140 pounder. So I think it's him. Well, it's obviously him, Teofimo Lopez, or Subriel Matias. But Subriel Matias, I don't know how he would deal with Devin Haney's style. And honestly, I don't know how Teofimo would either. But those fights getting made kind of difficult. And if Devin can't make the weight, because I think Devin is probably the biggest, physically biggest of all three of them. And again, the least likely to be able to stay in that division for a long period of time. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.